Hey friends, I'm Jennifer LaGuardia, always here with you to be your encouraging voice. So I'm often asked, what advice would you give to your younger self? To which I respond, how much time do you have? Oh my goodness, life experience is your best coach. And if I can speak life and hope into anyone going through what I've gotten to the other side of, that's a win. In regards to relationships, getting yourself into a healthy headspace to even be able to recognize and attract healthy relationships that are very much in alignment with your life is ginormously huge and critically important because of how deep it's going to impact how you feel every day, who you become more of, and absolutely dictate the direction of where your life is headed. So I've had boatloads of experience with this, and if I were to break it down and describe my evolving journey with this, I could sum it up into 4 parts. The first, self-love and self-worth. I found it to be connected to a power greater than myself, and that power ironically lives deep within ourselves. Trusting your intuition. It's there for a reason and never lies. Having standards and values you just will never compromise, like not for anyone or anything. And knowing your authentic self. Stay true to who you truly are authentically. I'm grateful to chat with you about each one in a 4-part series, beginning with this video. Today, we're just talking about self-love and self-worth. So I'm someone who has always loved deeply. I've never had a problem loving other people, but I just didn't know how to love myself. For years, I didn't understand self-worth beyond something that you see in motivational quotes. For real, like it makes sense intellectually. It's not a hard concept to grasp, but to actually feel it deep within your core, like deep into your subconscious, that's a whole other story. I'm not a therapist, but if you've had any kind of emotionally traumatic experience with abuse or a deep rejection, I know from experience it can leave an imprint that can block you from being able to recognize and feel your own value and worth. And it makes it really challenging to love yourself enough to walk away from something or someone who does not serve your higher good. Your expectations begin to drop for what is right for your life because you're used to what you're used to. And if that imprint isn't acknowledged and replaced with the truth of who you really are, the dysfunctional relationship cycle is going to continue to bleed into every other area of your life till you're completely drained and vulnerable to making decisions that train wreck your life. So in my younger years, I unknowingly was attracting a parade of either super non-committal or really toxic, unstable, emotionally unstable people. And to say it took a toll on my emotional well-being was an understatement. Each breakup felt like a funeral. And it got to the point where I felt so broken from each relationship ending. One more break, and I felt like this is seriously going to end me. I can't go through this again. Which is why, even though I saw the red flags, something in my gut, my intuition, which I truly believe to be the voice of God in my heart, telling me, don't get involved with this person, don't go down that road. But not only could I not go through yet another heartbreak, I was afraid of hurting him if I walked away. Fast forward, and long story short for this video, that particular relationship was basically how I hit rock bottom. But what I discovered at rock bottom changed my life. So driving home late from work one night, just in this mind-blowing depression, wondering, how did I even get here? I prayed and asked God, please just open this man's eyes and just somehow miraculously turn this train wreck around. Well, something even more miraculous happened. God opened my eyes. And for the first time, I thought about how I was always the first person to rally by a friend's side and encourage them to walk away from a toxic relationship, to recognize how much they mattered, to see their own value and worth, and to hold out for someone who had their best interest in mind. So why couldn't I see my own worth and value? Why couldn't I do this for myself? Why was I constantly opening the door for the same kind of person to come into my life over and over again like a bad movie on replay? So in the car that night, I kid you not, I felt this loving presence that with all my heart, I know it was God. And in that broken, shattered state I was in, I felt that God was wanting me to know how much I mattered, how real and how powerful His love truly is. And for the first time in years, I felt hope. In that dark rock bottom place, I felt the presence of God in such a way, there's no way I'd ever go back to life as it was. So I got to share with you, as a kid, I always felt like God was so much bigger than church, definitely bigger than religion. And my favorite thing growing up as a kid was going for walks in the park and just talking to God, because it's where I felt that loving presence and it's where I felt safe. So my relationship with God was always a special thing to me. But it wasn't until years later when I became fully aware in that moment this was not what God meant for my life, being in a toxic relationship. So at that moment, I was able to completely just take a step back, let go, and just surrender and trust. This higher power loved me clear beyond all the train wreck decisions I had made, and my healing journey officially began. So after very strategically getting out of that toxic relationship and getting my life back, I made it a practice every day to carve out time to just go out for walks in nature and talk it out with God. So many revelations came to me from spending that time. I realized that God's love does not ride on how broken and screwed up you might feel, no matter how many what was I thinking decisions I made. God had He had greater plans for my life than I ever thought possible. And it was through all that brokenness, the shame, and just my raw vulnerability with no distractions, all these deep layers came to the surface, and this love that I can only describe to you as divine, it began to heal each layer. And I can distinctly remember feeling one day like this brand new version of myself, like something massive had been lifted off of me. And it was then that I realized that being able to fully accept this radical, unconditional love from God, like fully surrender and trust this unseen force, this unconditional love from God, I was able to love myself. Because the Spirit of God is love and lives on the inside of us. And we're created to be extensions and conduits of that divine love on this earth. So when you love yourself, it's actually honoring to God. It's honoring to the Creator. Time with God is what ultimately manifested this breakthrough within myself, dissolving those imprints that blocked me from realizing my own value and worth. Friends, I'll end it today with this. You are created with purpose and destiny, and your value and worth is irreplaceable. When you know this, like really know this deep within your core, this is the first step to being able to recognize and attract healthy relationships that are very much in alignment for your life. I love you guys so, so much, and I just so appreciate your time hanging out with me. I'll see you next week.